Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a thug with a bad habit. Bye up, bye up. Let's hit that intro though one time for your mind. Welcome back to Gunners Collective TV. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate all the support. I'm very humbled by it. Fresno, stand up. Let's talk about Fresno, right? Not the Bulldogs. Not the dogs. The dogs, every dog will have his day. Ese, right? Every dog will have his day. But we're going to talk about the Fresno Nortenos, right? And how me going out to Fresno was my demise, right? I got beat up a lot in life. I won some too. Very few, but I won some, you know. That's why they call me the gun. You know what I'm saying? I was always running and gunning, falling and yelling and pushing and cussing. I stepped back, homie. I kept busting, right? Or did I? One never knows, does one. But this is a story about the city of Fresno and how I was misidentified, right? And properly disposed of. They beat the shit out of me. Now, if you guys watch Super Norteño on my other channel, The Collective Clips, if you haven't, you need to go tap in immediately, right? If you do, then you know this story right here is going to coincide with that. So I have a prima, Brianna. It's my cousin, right? Hey, I call her the fair weather cousin. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes she's good, sometimes she isn't. But she's a beautiful woman. Very fine, right? You know, I ain't even going to lie. When we're young, I used to be like, damn, esa. Right? I used to look. She was pretty. And she's not so much anymore. You know what I'm saying? 6 kids will do that to you by 5 different baby daddies, right? Or actually, is it 6 kids by 7 different baby daddies because one is skeptical? I don't know. But she was dating a bulldog, right? And they ended up having a whole gaggle of kids, and they ended up getting together. So I would go out to their pad in Fresno all the time. They lived right by Fresno College, Fresno State. And there was never really no issues. When I'd bring my primos around, when I'd bring Pepe, he'd be like, can we go into the fucking, the dog's house, I got some dog food for that, And then, of course, I'd bring Ricky, he'd be like, well, but I don't even like the werewolves because they fucking be biting and shit. You know what I'm saying? My cousin has a mangled ear because of Fresno. But I'll tell you the truth here. I used to go to my prima's house all the time. She had the baddest homegirls. Hey, look, I'll tell you guys this. There's 2 cities in Northern California. I consider Fresno Northern California. I don't give a fuck what you guys say. It's central. I know that. But to me, it was always Northern California, right? Anything from fucking Tulare County on back to me is Norte, right? But the baddest chicks, well, I'll say the 3 cities with the baddest chicks in Northern California at that time was Livas, yes, Livingston. Don't get it twisted. Man, them paisa chicks, they know how to work it, right? San Jose Sharks. There's a reason why they're sharks out there. You have to be. Them chicks ain't no joke. They're fine, though. And, of course, Fresno. Fresno got some bad tweaker broads, right? They just got some bad chicks out there in Fresno, man. There's one I watch on TikTok all the time. Make a motherfucker want to start banging bulldogs. That's how bad she is. But so Fresno was always the spot to go to because my prima, you know, she was bad, so she always had the bad homegirls. So it was always like, back then we didn't slide in their DMs. We slid in them. So every time I went, she'd hook me up with homegirls. There'd always be homegirls coming around, always doing their nails and shit. And of course, man, that was like winter chicken dinner. So I was always over there. Well, being that I was always over there, her old man was hella cool, and I was cool with his bulldog homies. Like, they didn't trip because I was a Norteño. Like, none of that mattered, right? And I didn't trip that they were dogs because I considered him family, and you don't disrespect someone's pad. I learned that a long time ago. You know, when I was over there, I was neutral. Like, if they disrespected Norte, I was going to get off where I was mad at. But it wasn't a situation where I went over there gang banging like that. Plus, all the motherfuckers looked like Northerners to me. I couldn't tell they all come in with red rags and bulldogs on their neck. I was like, I'm used to that shit. So anyways, I'd be over there. There was a couple times a couple dudes tried to lightweight trip, but that dude had influence. He'd be like, hey, man, that's my fucking old lady's primo, you know what I mean? And he'd be like, yeah, homie, I ain't even tripping off that dog, but that fool bone my old lady. I'd be like, yeah, I did that, right? You can be mad about that one. So anyways, what happened was I started to go over there more and more often. There was a summer, I call it the summer of love, right? The gun love, where there was this chick. And it's crazy that lately we've been talking about that chick fucking Valeria, right? From Mexico that got whacked on live. because this chick looked very similar to her. I've always liked, hey, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I love Mexicanas, but a white woman minus the sour smell is always bomb, right? So I liked Mexicanas that were fucking real weta, green eyes, blue eyes, blonde hair, but they were Mexicanas. Go Canelo, no fucking me mother, no fucking me mother, right? I always liked light-skinned Mexican chicks. So she had a homegirl. Brianna had a homegirl. Man, that chick was bad. Her name was Michelle. Booty was bigger than a tail on a whale. See, when I freaked Michelle, I freaked her well. Her old man got hotter than the flames in hell. Right? He was upset. That bulldog was like, put a muzzle on it, ese. Trip out on this. So the summer of love, I started going over there a lot, all the time, right? It was 1997. I'll never forget. I was fresh out of YA in 96. 97 was my time to shine. And so I'm going over there. So I built a relationship up with this chick. It was kind of like when I slid in, my prima would call her. She'd come over immediately. She didn't care what her old man was doing. Here, watch the baby. And she'd go over there and we'd kick it. And I knew she was with the dude. And look, man, let's be real. Do we care in life? No, I had a girlfriend. She had a boyfriend. We became girlfriend and boyfriend. And that's what it was. But it was just a Fresno thing. I had ho in different area codes. Do so Nina 559 knows, right? So now I'm all up in Fresno's mix, all up in their Kool-Aid. And I started to get comfortable. My first mistake, right? I started to wiggle around. Now, I knew a little bit or a lot of bit about Fresno because I was locked up with a lot of Fresno Bulldogs or Northerners from Fresno and in the YA system. So, but this is back when Bulldogs were Nortenos. So you got to understand it was up for a while there. There was a lot of F-14ers still running around, still attached to the Northern cause. And then there was a lot of dudes that were just got the Bulldog business out the game that were not playing that shit. So kind of like whoever you ran into, it could get ugly or it could be a pretty situation, right? Pretty woman walking down. She was too. So being that I started to get comfortable, I forgot all the clecha about Fresno. And I was just like, man, fuck it. I don't care, bro. I got a gun. It is what it is. That was my mentality back then. I was a gang member. Whatever. But what I failed to realize was that Bulldogs weren't playing the bullshit no more. They were against Northerners. I was against them, and that was that. So I started running around for a little bit with fucking the Bulldog cat, which was her old man. And we'd go to stores. We'd see hella dog. He'd be like, what's up, dog? You'd hear barking all over. Look, that's what led me to believe that Fresno, them Bulldogs are everywhere, right? Maybe not in the industrial area where Little Weirdo was, but everywhere else. So they're everywhere. So I'd see them. They got used to me, like the homies from his neighborhood, kind of like, what's up, bro? What's up, right? They're from a neighborhood called RTL. And I had done time with some of them. In fact, shout out to Spell from Rootless Thug Life. You know what I'm saying? He was a solid dude, solid Bulldog. So anyways, I'm right there going to the stores. Fucking, they take me to a party, man. I almost got jumped. And I'm thinking it's all good. Well, little did I know, somewhere deep into the barrio of the West Side, right? There was a Norteño gang called West Fresno Norte. Now, there ain't very many of them left, but back then there was a lot of them, right? So what it was there was a gang called Chandler Boys, Chandler Bulldogs. And when the Bulldog and Northerner split happened, a lot of the Chandler Boys either went Chandler Dogs or they went WFN, West Fresno Norte, right? So it wasn't nothing to see a lot of Norteños back then in the, like I said, late 90s. Now you don't see any of them really. They're out there, but it's very few. So what had happened was, I guess a couple of these vatos, they were lurking, because they were going at it with Bulldogs. So they had to creep. And that's real, man. I hear a lot of Norteños and Southsiders and everyone talk about stories about dudes from different neighborhoods sliding through on the late night with the tinted windows and having to creep to go to certain spots in the hood. It's the truth, right? I remember fucking the Crips and, from Merced Gangsta Crip, when they used to slide through dead end, them motherfuckers would be like this, sitting low, right? Because they didn't want to get boobot. Same thing when we would cruise through different areas. So I guess they were creeping, right? And they seen me. They seen me with these dogs, and automatically they thought I was a dog. Now, I'm a Norteño at the time. Active as a motherfucker. Mongolian out the game. But you got to understand, there was a lot of Bulldogs with Mongolians and shit still, right? So they see me, and they don't identify me as a homie. They identify me as a dog, right? Little do I know, I'm just in there trying to get an Esprit and a fucking and a Kit Kat bar. So I'm going in and out of the stores, whatever. I'm with the Bulldogs. He's introducing me to his homeboys. He's like, yeah, this is my old lady's fucking primo, but he ain't tripping like that. I said, nah. And then, of course, man, I always throw the resume out there. Oh, man, Joey Boy from the east side, Danny Boy, fucking K9 from north side, Chucky, fucking Negro. I'm naming all these names that I know that I was locked up with. They're like, oh, that's my dog. That's my dog. Oh, yeah, he's solid. And whatever. So I get embraced. Like I've always had love for Fresno. They always showed me love, right? So this is what happens. So there's a street. I don't know if they still do. I haven't been to Fresno in a minute, right? There's a street that everyone used to cruise called McHenry. Or excuse me, not McHenry, for Kings Canyon. McHenry's in Modesto. That's where they cruise. Kings Canyon. So at that time, that was the spot. Like shit was going down there, but there was the magic was out there, which was the Fresno Task Force, gang task force. They were always out there, fools getting jacked up. Gang of dogs, right? But everybody was out there. I see Southerners out there. I see Northerners. I seen everyone. Dogs don't lie. There were Southerners out there, bro. I seen them, right? With my own 2 eyes. 4 eyes, because I was wearing glasses. So anyways, my fucking prima's old man, it was me, him, the chick, right? Michelle with the booty bigger than the tail on the whale. All of us were cruising. He had a sick ass 66 Impala. So he's like, hey, bro, let's fucking kick it. We pick up two Bulldogs, 2 of his homeboys. So let's look at it. You got a tirada, which was the chick I was fucking with, because that's all I was into at that time. My prima, super tirada, right? Because that's what she's into all the time. Her old man, pobrecito, he didn't know, man. Every homeboy in my neighborhood ate that, right? And then 2 Bulldogs. One of them skunted out the game, but this is back when it was crank, so he was really amped. And the other Bulldog's a little youngster just sitting there all fucking like, can we go get a taco at the taco truck? We're cruising. A straight gaggle of idiots. And there's a red car that's coming. It's a red mini truck. There's 4 dudes stuffed in there, 4 fat dudes, right? You ever seen 4 fat dudes pop out of a mini truck? I did. It went like this. So anyways, they're cruising this way. I catch eye contact. I recognize these guys from when I went in the store. They were looking at me. One of them, right? And I look and his eyes get big. Like, that's that fool right there, right? So we get to the end of Kings Canyon. We come back around. We're coming back. We're going to go hit these taco trucks. Everyone used to hang out at these taco trucks. Grub. You know, I got jumped. I told you, me and Ricky got jumped on over there at the taco trucks before. But anyway, so as we're cruising back, we park at the taco trucks. That little youngster can't wait. He's like a little pit bull. I'll take 10 tacos de carne asada, right? He runs off. The dude's on Scante. What do you want? I want a Sprite, right? And then, of course, the chick I'm with, she wants a torta. I already got a torta, so I'll take 2 tacos. We're all chilling. Her and my prima are chopping it up. Dudes are on him because my prima got a big old booty. Everyone's on it. Me and the Bulldog dude are talking, and these dudes pull up. They're like, West Fresno Norte, homie, right? And, of course, the dogs start barking. And I'm like in a conundrum because now at this point, what do I do? Now it's a Norteño Bulldog situation. Now I'm an active Norteño at this time. So I have to play my P's and Q's and dot my I's and cross my T's. But this night, my T was going to get crossed and my I's were going to get dotted, right? So, of course, they're woofing and I kind of take a step back with the chick like, yeah, I'll have crema on them tacos, right? Because I'm like, what do I do? And the Bulldog's like, what's up, dog? Get off, right? And the Northerners are not trying to get off because there's only 4 of them. And there's like a lot of other dudes that all of a sudden dogs started coming out, barking everywhere. That's how Fresno was. And meanwhile, I'm trying to stay undercover like a motherfucker, right? So anyways, these dudes peel off. They're like, all right, we know where you stay. We know where you stay. Now, like I said, my prima lived by the college, by Fresno State. And she used to throw parties. Like everyone would kick it at her pad, right? If I said her name, like everyone knows her name's Brianna, but if I like said who she really was, there'd be a whole bunch of Bulldogs in there like, yeah, I boned her, right? So look, we're kicking at her pad. After, man, the dogs are all talking shit. Them fools didn't want to see us. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm feeling lightweight fucking disrespected because I'm like, damn, those are the homies. I should have been right. Hey, you should be riding with me, not fucking with me. I should be riding with them. So I'm like, I'm going to leave, right? I'm going to leave before it gets drastic. So I leave. So what happens is my prima, about a couple weeks later, maybe a week and a half later, she calls me. She's like, hey, fool. Them fools came by and they fucking throw a big ass rock through my windshield. I said, who? She said, the dude you got into it with. I said, I didn't get into it with no one. I should have got into it with that paisa that somebody that taco. I've had chorro ever since. Too much cream on them tacos, right? She was like, nah, remember the fucking that night? And I go, yeah, I know who you're talking about, but nah, them are homies. Now, she used to be a little Northerner too. All of a sudden, she got with a Bulldog. Now she wants to be Bulldog up with a Bulldog tattoo, right? But back in the day, she knows what time it was. So I'm like, nah, it's the homies this, homies that. When I say homies, she knows what I mean, right? And she was like, hey, fool, but yeah, they fucked up. My kids were in here. And I was like, she was like, next time you come, you better come strapped or something because, and I said, yeah, well, there might not be no next time. She's like, hey, my homegirl, she's been fucking, her and her old man are fighting. I said, well, fucking next time is this weekend. I'll be there, right? Fuck that. You know, I got to get in before another Bulldog gets in, right? Because they're going to slide. So we go over there. We're throwing a little kickback. We're all kicking it. Shit. I go outside to smoke a frajo. That was my first mistake. I lit that motherfucker. That was my second mistake. When I lit that motherfucker, right? That's all they needed because I was like in the dark on the porch. It was like dark right there. Right when I lit that motherfucker, boom, a shot, right? I looked, these motherfuckers jumped out 3 carloads deep and got to whooping my ass. Now, I could have screamed, help, guard, right? Bulldogs mount up. But I had to take it. I felt in my mind, in my heart, these dudes are going to kill me, but I need to take this one because who do I look like screaming for bulldogs? How the fuck am I going to look myself in the mirror? Man, these dudes beat the holy dog shit out of me. And I wasn't even from Fresno, right? They beat the holy hell out of me. Man, homies were dragging me like, there's F Bulldog, this and that. You know, they're disrespecting. And I'm like, I'm a homie. Well, what happened was they ripped my shirt off. And I had a big old Welga bird on my stomach. And one of them stops. He's like, hey, he's a homie. I said, I'm a fucking homie. What happened? I'm a homie. And they stopped. When they stopped, dude's like, what's up, bro? Where you from? And I said, I'm from Merced. I'm from Merced North to Dead End, right? I'm trying to explain to them. They're like, what are you doing here, homie? I thought you were a dog. And I was like, nah, fuck that. Fuck them fools, right? Well, in between the word fuck and them fools came out. Man, if it wasn't a big melee, reminded me of the Youth Authority. Bulldogs rush, Northerners rush, right? I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it totally honest with you guys, man. Bulldogs, Spencer. I had to get off with the homies, even though after they beat the shit out of me, that was a DP. I took that one, right? Man, I was getting off with dogs that I was in there kicking it with 5 minutes before. In fact, the dog that gave me the cigarette to go out and smoke, I hit his ass so hard, that motherfucker probably stopped smoking. It was crazy, right? I'm getting off. Boom, 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 boom. We're fighting, right? I jumped in the fucking vehicle with the Northerners left. My prima's blowing me up. You're a piece of shit. Don't ever come back here. I went back there because, of course, the white Mexican chick was there. You know what I'm saying? I had to go swoop her up late night. But the truth of the matter is, I got beat up by Fresno Nortenos because they thought I was a dog. Then I got embraced by the homies. I was out there kicking with them. They were all in the garage smoking skunk and shit. But it was cool, though. We were in the west side of Fresno. I didn't know where I was at. I was leaking and shit. Homie's like, you need an ice pack? I said, you didn't say that when you were cracking me in the back of my head, right? I was all ice packed. They're like, damn, homie. They're like, hey, why are you kicking with them? And I explained. They were like, hey, we know your prima. The homie's like, I boned her. I was like, of course, right? Of course. Anyways, that's what happened in Fresno. There was a couple other times, man, I went to Fresno and it got all ugly. You know, I've told you guys one situation. I pulled up to the east side. Now, the east side of Fresno is different. Back then. Now, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not all up in Fresno's guts like that. But when I was, right, I used to go to the east side, man. I went to this store with it was one of my other baby moms, my first baby mama, her and her mom. Man, these fools got to barking bulldog business. I was in a 69 Impala. I used to have a green 69, black vinyl top, shaved door handles. You know, I was wiggling. I thought I was balling. Man, them bulldogs right there almost got your boy. Hey, I'm telling you, it was at certain points in life when I realized Fresno wasn't in the cards for me. You know, there used to be little homies. They're from Merced Ghetto Boys, right? Which was it's the hood that the foot GB's from, the rapper. And they were youngsters at the time. They were balling. Two homies. They were like actually the ones that started that hood. Balling. They fucking had the game started. They had that whole little area of McNamara Park where GB always talks about buy rights and all that. Sewed the fuck up, right? Balling. And they used to always go to Fresno to the mall because, you know, Merced Mall's small. I'm from a small town. Everyone goes to the Modesto Mall to go shopping, and that's small. But they used to slide out to Fresno all the time. I remember one time they slid out to Fresno. They didn't slide back. We had to go find them. The motherfuckers were hiding in the bushes somewhere talking about, bro, so it's getting fucked up my silver tabs. They fucked up my silver tabs. Yeah, what happened, bro? What happened, right? GB rap about that, right? He wasn't around at that time. He's young. But I'm just saying, anyways, I knew it wasn't in the cards for Fresno. Fresno's a very dangerous city. And the Nortenos, I got to give them props, man. The ones that are still there, they are surrounded. They're on Gilligan's Island for reals. You know what I'm saying? There's Nortenos like from Parlier, or there was, man, and from Huron, little fucking Fresno County. Now there really ain't as much. You know, a lot of the Norteño neighborhoods that were in Fresno County, they switched up to Bulldogs, like Chancla. They used to be Northerners, man. I was locked up with Chuco from Chancla. That's my boy, right? He hated Bulldogs too back then. All of a sudden, motherfucker turned dog on us, right? It just is what it is. One of the most classic stories I ever told you was Smilon from Fresno Norte, man. I'm going to retell that story. If you guys remember, he was the Northerner that was in YA that switched up on us. I'm going to retell that because there's a lot of people that don't know that story. It's from my very first channel. So we're going to get that motherfucker back popping. Anyways, with that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. If you like these stories, continue to support. Make sure you go over to the Collective Clips and light it on fire, man. Go hit that like. Go hit that subscribe. That channel right there's popping. I got all the supers over there. This is the gun. Bang, bang.